Hey creatives, I'm your host Aylin Wild. I'm a videographer and film lover living in beautiful Edinburgh in Scotland, and this is my podcast, Empathy Machine. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. I created this podcast to discuss films and unpack other creative topics. I've been making videos for the past few years for my church, and I've recently started working in a professional sphere as a videographer. So this podcast is a space essentially for creativity and cultivating empathy through the medium of film and video. If that sounds interesting to you, let's get on with this episode. In this episode, I'll be discussing volunteering and working for free. Within the creative industry, and particularly in regards to videography, working for free is something you hear a lot about. It's almost something you can't really avoid, but sometimes it can actually be detrimental to your career if you are planning on getting into it in a professional capacity. So when should you work for free, and what are the benefits of it? Well, in today's episode, I'll be attempting to answer that question based on my own experiences, as well as some general principles from the industry itself. The majority of the video work I've done has been for free, whether that's volunteering or just working for free. The first few videos I made for other people were wedding videos for both of my parents. I then moved into volunteer work for my church, making regular weekly videos. I did this for 3 years before moving to another church where I'm continuing to volunteer producing videos for them as well. These videos are pretty varied, ranging from weekly church news, event coverage, promotional content, and online church services. Now, this is different to working for free in my view, because working for free generally means doing something that under usual circumstances, someone would have to pay for. Volunteering, on the other hand, is more like investing your time and serving a cause you think is worthy of your time. For me, I love the church, so in my view, it's a worthy cause for me to invest my time into. I have also done some videos for free though. Like I mentioned, I filmed my parents' weddings. I then did 3 more weddings. The first one never offered to pay me at all, which I did find a little off-putting, but it was a great way for me to practice and add to my portfolio because the previous weddings I'd filmed were pretty dodgy quality, so I couldn't really use those for anything. The next wedding, they did offer to pay me, but they had a very small budget. I ended up doing it completely for free, though, for reasons I'll explain later. The third one, which was my best friend's wedding, I offered to do for free because it was my gift to her, and I really wanted to be there and capture that moment, so I probably would have done it even if she hadn't asked me. I also filmed a funeral for an elderly lady within the church. Her best friend asked me to capture it because a lot of her family couldn't be there, and that was really moving to be a part of. I obviously didn't charge anything for that because she was deeply grieving and wasn't particularly well off, and I was just honored to be asked, to be honest. Before I did that first wedding video, I was approached by a woman who had seen my work and asked if I could do a video for her school. She was a teacher and needed someone to make a graduation video for some of the students. At this point, I had never been paid for any of my work, but I decided to charge her because I realized I had to start charging people at some point. So I did my research and I looked up the going rates for videographers and calculated how long I thought it would take me. And I took a bit off the price, obviously, because it was my first time charging and I didn't want to freak her out. So I came back to her with a price and I remember she looked so shocked. I don't think she expected me to charge her at all, and certainly not at that price point. So she kind of started backpedaling and said it was kind of an unofficial video and that the school wasn't actually paying for it, but that she would be paying out of her own pocket. She came back to me with a very low price, much lower than the one I had suggested. And of course, being the first time, I was just happy to get anything, so I agreed. I came to the school one afternoon after work and I interviewed some of the younger kids about the older kids who were graduating because the school had like a buddy system. And I just remember it was so noisy and it was really hard to get clear audio, but I tried my best. The teacher then sent me some other videos she'd filmed vertically on her iPad to add in, as well as the school photos of each of the students. And she sent me a song to go with it, but it was so cheesy and terrible. So I asked if she wouldn't mind me putting in a different song. And she said that that was fine. So I did, and I sent off the video and she loved it. I then waited for her to ask me about the payment, which I now realize was a huge mistake. And of course, she never got back to me and I never got paid. So that was kind of when I realized that getting paid to make videos was going to be harder than I thought, and that maybe I had to rethink my strategy if I ever wanted to actually make a career out of this. There are definitely benefits both to working for free and volunteering. The first major benefit, which is usually the main reason most creatives work for free, is to build your show reel. Trying to get work in a creative field without a portfolio is going to be really difficult, if not impossible, for anyone, no matter how talented you are. Working for free means you can build up your show reel without the pressure of having to perform for payment. Once you have a solid reel, you can start charging, but before then, you definitely might want to consider offering free or very reduced price services for a while to get you started. The second benefit is to gain experience. If you never make videos, how will you ever improve? Get your mistakes out of the way when you're working for free. Try out new ideas, be creative, refine your process. When you don't have the pressure of having to perform for money, you have the freedom to be as creative and daring as you want. And if something goes wrong, it's okay. Even if you have a really strong portfolio, I would still suggest making videos for free once in a while, just to refine your processes and improve even further. The third benefit is that you have the opportunity to learn from someone else. Now, obviously, this is only the case if you're assisting or shadowing, but this can be such a valuable learning experience for anyone. Even the masters can learn something from someone else just by stepping back and watching their process. Leave your perceived ideas and judgment at the door and really open your mind to learning something new. I once shadowed an award-winning filmmaker who loves working alone, but was happy to show me his process. I held things, carried things, looked for continuity errors, pressed play on the music for a music video, set up lights. Whatever he needed, I would do. But at the same time, I was watching and learning. I would take photos, write down notes, and really try to soak in the techniques I was seeing being used. I asked questions whenever it was appropriate, and I really listened to what he had to say. I learned so much from just the handful of times I shadowed him. And remember, people actually pay for that kind of teaching by doing film courses. So definitely don't turn your nose up at assisting for free when what you gain is so valuable. Finally, another benefit of working for free is the opportunities you can get from it. You have no idea where these experiences could take you, especially if you're shadowing someone else. If they're really impressed by your work ethic or your enthusiasm, they might very well recommend you to someone else for a paid job or ask you to be a part of their team themselves. Obviously, your show reel will also open doors for you and gain you opportunities as well. So definitely try to view working for free as an investment, because very few people get anywhere in this industry without it. Now, there are also some potential pitfalls of working for free that you should consider as well. Firstly, working for free all the time makes you look less professional. Essentially, you're saying to the world that your work isn't valuable. You're saying that it's literally worth nothing, and people won't ever take you seriously if you never charge or if you undercharge for your services. There are times to work for free, and there are times to charge what you're worth. If you own a camera and can make a video, your videos are worth charging money for. Why? Because most people hire someone to make a video because they don't have the time or the resources to make it themselves. Yes, they're paying for quality, but actually, a lot of the time, they're paying for time and resources. Why would they spend the time making a video on their phone when they could just hire someone to make one with the equipment they already own? This doesn't mean you have a license to make terrible videos, of course, but I'm just saying you shouldn't stress about charging money if you don't think your videos are super polished and high quality. If they've seen your portfolio, they know what they're getting. They're paying you for your time, your equipment, and your skills. Never charging anyone isn't going to make people want to hire you, despite what you might think. If someone is willing to pay for your services, your work is valuable enough to charge for. Secondly, working for free means you can more easily be taken advantage of. As I mentioned, that school teacher was able to take advantage of me, whether or not she meant to, because I had never charged for my work before and she knew that. They may not do it intentionally, but people will take advantage of you if you're always offering to work for nothing. Thirdly, people will respect your work less. Like I said, the value of your work lies in what someone is willing to pay for it. The more someone is willing to pay, the higher the value of your work. But if you never charge anything, your work will never be valuable. No one is going to respect it because you've never given it the chance to amass any kind of worth for what it is. Learn to trust yourself and your work and put it out there to the world to let them decide what it's worth. Fourthly, charging nothing makes you look less confident in your abilities. People want to know they're in safe hands when they hire you. If you're not charging, it looks to them like you have no idea what you're doing and you're not confident in your own abilities. If you're not confident in you, how can they ever be? Charging for your work doesn't make you look arrogant, it makes you look confident. It says to people that you know what you're doing and that you can be trusted with their project. Finally, working for free makes you doubt yourself. When you get into a habit of working for free, you begin to think your work isn't worth someone paying for. Even when you do start charging, you will naturally charge a lot less than you're worth because you have such little faith in your own abilities. This has definitely happened to me. I have actually been offered payment multiple times for my work and have turned it down every time. It's only this current job I have now that I'm actually being paid for, and it's actually quite difficult for me to accept that money. I know it sounds stupid, but when you get into the habit, it's quite a mental shift to suddenly start getting paid money for something that you would normally just give away for free. So don't make the mistakes I made and let this happen to you. Once you have a show reel, get out there and start charging. It doesn't have to be much, just charge something. Then as your skills improve, invest that money in equipment and training, and you can start charging more. Your videos will naturally improve over time as your paycheck improves because you will naturally work harder the more you're being paid and produce much higher quality content. There are certain scenarios where it's appropriate and beneficial to work for free, and others that should be avoided if possible. Firstly, beware of anyone who tries to draw you into doing something for free by promising you some great content for your show reel. You get to decide what will look good on your show reel. Sometimes people think they're doing you a favor by offering you a project to do for free, but all that says to me is that they're not valuing my work as something worth paying for. Maybe they're right and it would look great on your reel, but just make sure that's a decision you're making for yourself and you're not being pressured into it. Secondly, working for free should benefit you just as much, if not more, than it benefits the other party. If you're giving a lot more than you're receiving, have a think about whether it's actually worth doing. Again, don't let anyone pressure you into doing something under false promises. Understand from the beginning what you'll be gaining from this experience, be it content for your show reel, practice time and experience, potential opportunities, or learning experiences. Thirdly, make sure you get some clear guidelines and expectations about what you're actually going to be doing and not doing. If they ask you to film for 1 hour, then film for 1 hour. Don't get sucked into 2 days of filming and 5 days of editing when you had only planned on a small time commitment. Remember, you're doing them a favor too, so don't let the other party pull you into a giant rabbit hole of work. Fourthly, working for free should never be a replacement for an actual job. Yes, getting experience in a certain field is great, but if it turns into a 9-to-5 type of deal, run. Make sure your boundaries are very clear and set from the beginning so you don't get sucked into doing someone else's job for free. Finally, if it's a passion project such as volunteering, or if it's a cause you stand behind, or it's just something you really want to do, then by all means do it for free. Sometimes you just want to help someone out or capture something when no one's asked you to. That's totally okay, and it's not going to devalue your work because you're not doing it for anything other than pure passion. Switching gears a little bit to focus on the film industry for a few moments, I want to talk about some of the expectations here about getting into the industry. Within the film industry, most people will expect you to start out working either for free or on a very low salary. That's just how it works. You start at the bottom, like the very bottom, and you work your way up. Now, this is obviously the case in most industries, but the film industry in particular holds a very particular view on working for free. It's expected. If you never work for free or for a very low pay within the film industry, that's usually the exception, not the rule. Now, there are a few variations of this. The first is to take an internship. Internships are not free labor. They should not replace someone else's job. They should be supervised and you should receive training. There also should be no promise of a job at the end of it. The purpose of an internship is to receive training and experience and make connections. Again, it's not just free labor. Examples of a film internship might be as a production assistant or a runner. You might work on a set or in an office. Usually it involves running errands like bringing people lunch, making coffees, answering the phone, photocopying. Usually it requires long hours and isn't particularly glamorous or rewarding. However, if you have a really good attitude and keep your mind open to learning everything you can, it can be a great leg up in the industry. Another example might be an internship as an assistant editor. You might compile footage, look for continuity errors, keep logs, organize files, and perform other technical tasks. The second variation of working for free in the film industry is to do an apprenticeship. An apprenticeship involves having some kind of a mentor who will teach you how to do the job. Usually an apprenticeship is paid, but on a very low salary. This is usually a little more hands-on than an internship and will give you much more tailored advice and feedback. However, the expectation with an apprenticeship is usually that you do end up moving up in your position, so the stakes are a little higher. Finally, you can work for free in the film industry in a way by working for future earnings. This means you're working not for a set amount of money, but for a percentage of earnings from the film. Obviously, this is a bit of a gamble on your part, but could end up paying off very nicely if the film succeeds. Make sure you're working for gross earnings though, not net earnings, so you don't get taken for a ride by tricky accounting gymnastics. In summary, I definitely think there are enormous benefits to be had by working for free in the videography or film industry, or really in any creative industry. It allows you to build your portfolio, gain experience, learn from someone else, and may even produce some incredible opportunities. However, make sure you exercise wisdom in which projects you decide to do for free so you don't end up looking less professional, less valuable, less confident, less deserving of respect, or even devaluing yourself and your own abilities. Remember that you decide what will look good on your show reel. Make sure the work is going to benefit you as much as the other party. Set clear guidelines and expectations. Never work for free as a replacement for an actual job. And remember that it's okay to do a passion project once in a while simply for the joy of making it. Within the film industry, working for free or for a very low pay is simply expected. You may take an internship, do an apprenticeship, or work for future earnings. Don't turn your nose up at these opportunities because you think you're better than that. You have to earn that respect and work your way up in the industry just like everyone else. My 10 film picks for this week come from Netflix UK, and the category is films about mental illness, addiction, and the brain. This is the second list in my Empathy Files series, the first being films depicting racism, where I bring you films that I believe have the potential to allow you a glimpse inside the mind of another. My favorite thing about film is its ability to connect you to the mind and heart of another person, allowing you to feel what they feel and experience what they experience. I believe the first step to truly loving others is to try to understand them. For me, nothing else has quite the power of a film in helping me to understand others. In alphabetical order, the films for this week are Six Balloons, All the Bright Places, Brain on Fire, Girl Interrupted, Horse Girl, Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, Mad World, My Beautiful Broken Brain, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and To the Bone. Head over to aylinwildmedia.com/film lists and let me know which of these resonated with you the most and why, and which film that's not on there that you think people should check out as well. Beautiful people, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If this episode inspired or encouraged you, or if you learned something new, I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and a rating wherever you're listening. That would be really helpful. I'd love to hear your feedback and any requests you might have for future episodes. You can email me at aylinwildmedia@gmail.com. For all resources and links, as well as a full transcript of this episode, check out the episode show notes over at aylinwildmedia.com/podcasts. I also have a weekly email that I'd love to send you if you're interested in more content. I share films I'm loving, my weekly film list, and the podcast of the week. Sign up on my website, aylinwildmedia.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, because that's a thing too, at aylinwildmedia. I hope you have a fantastic and blessed week, and tune in next time for more creativity and film chats.